Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sandy Creek High School commemoration of Veterans Day. Today, we'll honor our veterans with a short but great program which we all hope you will appreciate and enjoy. Let's begin with the presentations of colors.
Hello, Sandy Creek. This is Mr. Smith, and I just want to take a moment to thank three groups in particular. Number one, I'd like to thank our junior ROTC cadets for putting this program together. They've been working very hard the last couple of weeks to make sure that this was a very appropriate program, and I just want to thank them. I'd also like to thank Major Bowles and Chief Sergeant Lazoya. In addition, I want to especially thank all those veterans that we have on staff. Your dedication to this country and the sacrifices that you have made cannot be measured. The time away that you were from your family and friends to serve the country is greatly appreciated. In addition, I'd like to thank those members of the Sandy Creek community that are also veterans. Many of you have either a mother or father or another family member or friends of the family who served in the military. To serve is the greatest cause that I can think of. And so today we honor those individuals who decided to sacrifice time, sweat, tears, and even blood to serve this country. So Sandy Creek would like to say, thank you.
Tomorrow all the things were gone. I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. Proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. There's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
I served in the Army, and my official position was mental health specialist.
I was in the Army in the engineer unit. I was a heavy equipment mechanic.
I was an infantry medic in the United States Army.
I served in the United States Marine Corps. I worked in supply, 3043.
I was in the U.S. Army from 1966 to 1968, and I was a medical specialist.
I was in the Army from 1975 to 1979, and my most memorable experience was probably doing these alert drills where they would call us at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we'd have to get all our equipment together and jump in our vehicles and take off to whatever destination they sent us to. We stayed a few days out in the field at a time.
Went into 96, came out in 2003. I think my most memorable experiences really just had to do with playing cards and hanging out with fellow Marines.
My most memorable experience when I was working in the 30th Field Hospital in Augsburg, Germany, working in the emergency room, where I saw all kind of cases come through the emergency room from cuts and wounds and broken bones and all kind of things like that. It was on-the-job training. I didn't have any classroom training at the time, so they just put me right in on it, and I had to learn as I go. And the doctors were very, very good about teaching me things and showing me what needed to be done at any given time.
I've got two most memorable things. The first one was just basic training. It's where I learned how to be a man in basic training. And then having the privilege to serve my country for a tour in Iraq. That's the highest honor that you can perform for your country.
I served from 2001 to 2003, and the most memorable was by far being in basic training and 911 happening. We were at the range that day, and then the attacks happened, and it changed everything. It was not basic training. It was preparing for war.
A life of service, or even just a few years of service in our nation's military is really a valuable experience that everyone really should consider.
Joining the Army is the best thing I ever did in my whole life.
Our guest speaker today is retired Colonel Jan Apo. Born and raised in Michigan, she joined the military at the age of 17 and served 31 years until retirement. She started out in the Army as an artillery officer and spending much of her career doing military police work. She commanded on many levels, such as a military police battalion and brigade. Some of her awards include Legion of Merit and Bronze Star.
Thank you, Cadet Christopher Floyd, for your kind introduction. I am honored to share with you a few thoughts about what Veterans Day means to me and our country. High school is a character-building time in your life, and during these 4 years, you will mature into an adult and enter the next phase of your life upon graduation. Some of you will go on to college, serve in the armed forces, or start a job. Veterans Day is all about service to a greater good, which many of you demonstrate every day by your participation in sports, band, orchestra, academic teams, and JROTC. In participating in these activities, you have to give up some of your free time for the greater good of your teammates and your community. From holding food drives to help those less fortunate, holding fundraising events to buy equipment for your teams, marching in town parades, and doing color guards. Your teachers and coaches are inculcating in you the character trait of selfless service. Although today, you may not realize the significance of the character foundation you are building by putting others ahead of yourself, in 20 years, when you look back on the key building blocks of your success, you will appreciate the values of service and sacrifice for the greater good as keys in your personal and professional success. What called me to a life of service in the Army was the concept of sacrificing some of my personal freedoms for the greater good of the country. As a soldier, the bond I had with my team was what made me willing to sacrifice my life for theirs if necessary. It is inculcated into soldiers that we are a team and we all must be willing to do what is necessary for the greater good of the team. Selfless service is what has been the strength of our armed forces. I served our country for over 31 years, which included combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as humanitarian operations in Cuba and Turkey. The humanitarian missions taught me the value of helping those less fortunate. My combat tours taught me the importance of sustaining freedom for all citizens in this country, because I can tell you that many countries in the world cannot imagine what we have in our country. One of my fondest memories of my time in Cuba was being able to reunite families who had gotten separated from each other as they embarked on a 90-mile journey in an attempt to reach the beaches of Florida and become U.S. citizens. I was a young officer at the time, and I could not believe that people who were in wheelchairs, as well as families with very young children, would tie together some rubber inner tubes and 50-gallon drums and launch themselves into shark-infested waters for a country they have only heard of. I can tell you there is no greater calling than to live a life of service to our nation and your fellow citizens. The reward you get from ensuring our country's freedoms, as well as assisting citizens from other nations in their darkest days, is well worth the personal sacrifice. My core purpose is to leave the world a little better than I found it, and in my post-military career, I now provide housing to our homeless citizens. We celebrate Veterans Day in our country to recognize those who have chosen a life of service in our military. What is important about Veterans Day is to remember that military service to our nation is critical to our continued existence. The freedom we enjoy in this country was built on the generations of those who have served before you and will be sustained by the service of your generation. Many of you will not choose to serve in the armed forces, but I do hope you will continue to serve your community because your service is essential for the greater good. We have been going through some very challenging times with a pandemic that I'm sure none of us could have imagined a year ago. And I know that we will face other challenges we cannot yet imagine. Although these are dark times for our country, I am very confident in our country's future because of young men and women like you who choose to put others ahead of yourself. The foundation of our democracy is built on the willingness of our citizens to serve each other, and I know your generation is more than up to the task that our country will need from you. Thank you.
For more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white and a blue field representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag presented before you today. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the original 13 colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor. White signifies purity and innocence. And blue represents diligence, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally, a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July 1969, the American flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong planted it on the surface of the moon. Today, our flag flies on constellations of Air Force satellites that circle our globe and on the fin flash of our aircraft in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every airman who serves our great nation. The sun never sets on our U.S. Air Force, nor on the flag we so proudly cherish. Since 1776, no generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today's airmen remain committed to preserving the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict, on lands and skies around the world. It is our responsibility to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we as Americans enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope. To one and all, long may it wave.
We will now close our ceremony today by recognizing the Armed Forces 5 branches with medley featuring their service songs. Happy Veterans Day.